for a second. £2 million. On paper, everyone watching this has the raw capital flowing through their bank accounts to be a multimillionaire. It sounds incredible. It's like you're practically destined for absolute financial security just by showing up to work. But here's the kicker. Shockingly, the data shows that most people will retire with less than 300 grand to show for an entire lifetime of work. Millions of pounds flow in, and millions of pounds just flow right back out, leaving behind this tiny fraction of what was actually earned. This massive discrepancy between what we earn and what we actually manage to keep is the central puzzle we're breaking down today. I mean, seriously, where does it all go? That's where it all goes. We really have to rethink our basic assumptions. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I just need a higher salary, that'll fix it, prepare to have your mind changed. I've seen it time and time again. People earning £150,000 a year, living completely paycheck to paycheck right in London. They're dropping 50 quid on a single trip to Waitrose just to grab dinner because, organic avocados don't pay the mortgage. And they're canceling their gym memberships because things are feeling tight. On paper, they look highly successful, but in reality, they're functionally broke. They have huge debts and are quite literally just a single redundancy away from total financial ruin. And this brilliantly highlights the core contrast we need to grasp. Take that struggling high earner on 150K and compare them to a wealthy individual pulling in just 45K a year. The difference between these two financial realities has absolutely nothing to do with their baseline income and everything to do with how they structure their money. The 45K earner is playing a totally different game. They focus relentlessly on retaining and multiplying their capital rather than just endlessly earning and spending it. You see, the ultimate trap is that a salary feels like permanent wealth, right? It reliably hits your bank account every single month. But a salary is just the proceeds of an agreement. You're trading your time for a fixed sum. And the exact second you stop trading, whether that's due to illness, a layoff, or retirement, the tap turns off completely. Boom, gone. And what usually happens when people get a promotion? Lifestyle creep immediately kicks in to absorb the new cash. You rent a bigger flat, you finance a newer car. 5 years later, you're earning 30% more, but your actual net worth hasn't moved an inch. If salary isn't the true measure of financial success, what actually is? Let's look at the data to see what true wealth looks like in the UK right now. A typical household sits at about £294,000 in net worth. But to hit the top 10%, you need to reach around £1.2 million. And for the top 1%, you're looking at roughly 2.9 million and upwards. It's so fascinating because culturally here in the UK, we often view £1 million as this insurmountable, mythical figure. Meanwhile, in America, $1 million is basically just seen as the starting block in the wealth game. It's a massive psychological hurdle we have to clear. But how do they actually get to that 1.2 million? Well, look at where that wealth is actually held. A massive 43% is parked in pensions and investments, specifically things like dividend-paying stocks and index funds. Another 31% is in property. Notice what isn't dominating that allocation? Cash from a salary. The vast majority of their wealth is sitting in things that are growing autonomously, entirely independent of any daily physical effort they have to put in. Autonomous assets. This is the absolute cornerstone of the top 10% blueprint. These assets grow completely in the background, whether you're working at your desk, lying in bed sick, or sitting on a beach on holiday. Those dividend-paying stocks and that compounding interest, they act as invisible employees working 24/7. An ISA or a compounding pension doesn't require you to clock in every morning. It does the heavy lifting for you over 30 years. That is the fundamental difference between someone retiring comfortably on a 45 grand salary and someone still forced to work at age 70 despite earning over 100K a year. It's not what you earn, it's what you spend decades. To prove this isn't some high-level financial theory only for executives, let's look at the incredible story of Ronald Read. Ronald lived an incredibly modest life. He worked as a gas station attendant in Vermont for 25 years. After that, he worked as a part-time janitor at a JCPenney store for another 17 years, sweeping floors, pumping gas, day in and day out. He passed away in 2014 at the age of 92. Working on those basic wages, we know for an absolute fact he never came anywhere close to the top 10% of earners. But when they read his will in 2014, everyone around him was absolutely floored to discover that this quiet, part-time janitor left behind an $8 million fortune, most of which, by the way, he generously gave away to local hospitals and libraries. Think about that for a second. $8 million, built purely on minimum wage-style earnings. No massive starting salary required. So how on earth did he pull that off? The crucial point is his exact strategy.
He relentlessly, methodically converted every single spare wage dollar he had into autonomous assets. He bought shares in straightforward, dividend-paying companies he actually understood. We're talking Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, JP Morgan. And he held them for decades. But here's the real secret sauce. He systematically reinvested all those dividends. He wasn't just hoarding cash under a mattress, he was building a self-replicating wealth machine. He took the sweat of his basic wages and transformed them into invisible employees that multiplied while he was busy sweeping floors.
We need to bring this right back to your reality today. In 2026, dealing with high taxes, stagnant wages, and crazy costs of living, waiting around is just not an option. To change your trajectory, you've got to run a quick calculation right now to find your true starting net worth. First, take your annual salary. Next, calculate your property value minus any outstanding mortgage. And finally, add up the total value of your pension pots, regular savings, and your stocks and shares ISAs. Once you have that final number, you find your gap. If the top 10% benchmark is 1.2 million pounds, you need to know exactly how far away you are from that target. Why? Because you can't start converting your salary into assets blindly. You absolutely cannot align your daily behaviors and financial habits if you don't know the actual distance you need to travel. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. We are all facing huge economic hurdles out there, but the inescapable reality is this: no one is coming to save us. No one is going to sweep the floors and quietly build that portfolio for you. It is entirely your responsibility to convert the illusion of a monthly paycheck into real working assets. So what is your starting point today? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it right now?